I've arranged this group of 15 balls into a configuration for the number 15. The number 15 is a very important number in the context of real centered edge aiming. It's the 15-degree perception. That's one of the two major perceptions that make all balls somewhere on a 2x1 table. In this arrangement that we have here with the cue ball here, all of these balls can be pocketed into that corner using the 15-degree objective perception. Of course, there's going to be a half-tip pivot or a visual sweep that has to come from the outside or the inside. What I'm going to do is pocket these 15 balls and just make some comments as I go through each shot. What is really special about centered edge aiming is that the system takes me to the shot line. I do not know where the shot line is, but I do understand the system. I know the perceptions. I understand pivot directions. So as I move in on this 15-degree perception here, I'm going to establish the perfect 15-degree perception, and then I'm just going to turn my tip to dead center. Now the cue ball is my target, center cue ball. And I just looked at the cue ball last, since that is my major target. Now as I move the cue ball into its position, it's at a slightly different angle, but I'm still going to use the 15-degree perception, edge to A and center to edge. So what's important now is to establish that 15-degree perception. Okay. Now once I turn to center, there it is. In center to edge aiming, a player that uses CTE will become very proficient with center cue ball. But players that use center to edge aiming are not limited by any means to using only center cue ball. But what happens is that the shot line, the known shot line for pocketing the ball, becomes a reference for taking your tip away from center, whether it's outside or inside. Let's say in this case, I want to put just a tiny bit of outside on this ball. So I'm going to go into my 15-degree perception. My tip's already on the outside, so I'm going to go to center. Now I'm just going to turn my tip to the outside just a couple of ticks. And just stroke down that line. Now I'm going to move the 4 ball into its position, and this time I'm just going to use a tick of inside, perhaps 2 or 3 ticks. So I'm going to go into my 15-degree perception. My tip placement is a half a tip to the outside, so I'm going to pivot to center. Then I'm going to move my tip to the inside just ever so slightly and stroke straight down that line. Now as I put the 5 ball into its position, you know, it's easy to notice that all these shots represent different angles, but the perceptions for each of those 5 shots are the same in that the left edge of the cue ball is perceived to A, and there's a center to edge perception for each of those shots. There's not any other way to do this. Now, I know my perceptions at ball address. I've spent a lot of time learning the perceptions up here. So consequently, I now can know the perceptions when I'm in full stance. So I know that I'm going into a 15-degree perception here with my tip, a half a tip on the outside. So it doesn't matter if I lose it at this point, because I can re-establish the perception in full stance. So there's my perception. It's perfect right there. I turn to dead center. I'm in the slight overcut position here. Now, I'm going to start on this side with the 6 ball. This is a 15-degree perception, and the tip's going to be on the inside for connecting with that right angle. So even though I'm standing all the way over here, I know I'm going into a 15-degree perception, so basically I'm just sweeping to the inside here, establishing my perfect 15. Now, that's perfect. So now once I get to center, there's the shot line. Now it's all about center cue ball here. Now if I want to put just a little bit of outside on this ball, this is actually a 15 and outside. I'm going to go in for my 15 and outside, which has my tip already on the outside. So I'm just going to turn it in towards center just slightly. For a cleanly pocketed ball. Now, if I want just a little bit of inside on this ball, I'm going to go into my 15. My tip's on the outside. As I pivot to center, I'm just going to go slightly past center, not quite a quarter tip. And just stroke straight down that line. Now, if I want to put a little bit more inside on this ball, say a half a tip or so, let's see what that looks like. I'm going to establish my 15 right here. Now, I turn to center. That makes the ball. Now, a half a tip. If I hit this with hard speed, I can go ahead and make it. Now, if I had shot that shot softly, I wouldn't have had enough squirt to make the ball. So it's my experience as a player that let me know that if I increase my speed, if the shot can use increased speed, then I don't have to make any other adjustments. I'm at a half tip inside, I'm at a half tip to the inside there, and the speed will make the shot from there. So on that 9 ball, I started off with, just as a quick review, I started off with a half a tip of outside. I went to a center, then I went a half a tip to the inside. Well, in order for that half a tip to the inside to work, I had to have the proper speed with it. Otherwise, if I want to shoot softer, I'd have to do something else. So let's just take a look at what that something else would be. See, we've got 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's put 9 back up there. So, if I have a half tip to the outside as part of my perfect 15, then there's center. Now a half a tip to the inside. If I need to shoot softly, that half a tip to the inside won't make it. So I'm going to have to make another adjustment. I'm going to have to go a little bit further with my tip. There's a couple of ways I could do that. I could pivot a little further. I could turn my hand to the inside, or I could move my bridge over just slightly, which is what I think I'm going to do here. So there's my perfect 15. There's the line that makes the ball. There's a half a tip, but that won't make it. So there's a slight adjustment right there. So it's your experience as a player as you move along with center to edge aiming that allows you to start understanding how to use spin and to be able to choose the techniques that you want in order to apply your spin. Now, on this On this shot here, I'm going to, this is a 15 and outside, I'm going to actually do a little bit of a wrist twist as I put my outside spin on this ball. So there's my 15. I've got a half a tip to the outside. I'm gonna move it in towards center just slightly. So I'm about a quarter tip out. Now as I shoot this ball, my wrist is going to turn left. Okay, I think I'll, on this shot, I think I'll demonstrate my wrist going right. This is a technique that I've nurtured and fostered over the years, and I've gotten pretty good with it. A lot of top players use a wrist twist in application of spin. This shot here is a 15 and inside. So when I drop down here for my 15 and inside, this half tip pivot will not make this ball. So what I'm going to do is turn my wrist right and just pick up the speed a little bit. For a nicely pocketed ball. Now with CTE, I'm not afraid to shoot balls softly with center because I'm in an overcut position. You know, pros don't like to shoot real hard and they don't like to shoot real soft, but sometimes that's just what you have to do. So in CTE, it's nice to know that the system takes you to that slight overcut. This is a 15 and inside. So once I get to center, I know that I'm in a slight overcut here, just slightly. For a nicely pocketed ball. Now, center ball once again. I'm just going right to my perfect perception. Dead center. Now I want dead center here. On this one, I'm just going to use just a tick of outside. So there's my 15. It's perfect. So I go to center. And if I want just a tick of outside here, that's fine. And there's one more ball to go. So let's say I'm going to load this one up real good. You know, one of the things that I really like to do in CTE is I like to leave my bridge placement, my V specifically, in the spot that makes the ball. I like to stay on that line as much as possible. Anytime your V gets off of that line, the shot becomes more iffy. This shot is an iffy shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load it up and go 2 rails, but I'm going to actually move my V over to the right side of the cue ball past my typical center ball placement. So I'm going to sweep over to this side with a pretty good amount of spin. So I'm going to start off with my 15 from the outside. Here comes the sweep. Now, so my V is over here on the right side of the ball. For, once again, a cleanly pocketed ball. My purpose in this lesson is to, at least to some degree, continue to advance some of the nuances that surround center cue ball. In certain circles, there's a misconception that CTE is you have to play it with center cue ball. Well, the beauty of CTE is that you do get very used to using center cue ball because It's an objective center cue ball aim. There's no other system out there that can take you to an objective center cue ball aim that gives you a cut to boot, an overcut to boot. So you get very confident with center cue ball. But what's really important about using a little bit of spin, whether it's inside or outside or whatever, you're basing those adjustments on what you know to be the known shot line. So I just demonstrated, 15 or so shots of that were all 15-degree perceptions, and all those perceptions were objectively obtained. I could get out of the chair after having sat in the chair for a few minutes, perhaps a rack or so, and I can jump up into one of these shots, and I'm not going to have to feel my way into the shot line. I have something objective to look at that I can use as a part of the process that systematically takes me to the shot line. So once again, I'm just wanting to give you more detail about center to edge aiming. You can learn ghost ball in 5 minutes. You can learn contact points in 5 minutes. At least the framework of it. This is a professional system. It is professional in every manner. Once you start learning CTE, you're going to expand your knowledge of what you can do at the table, visually and physically, for all 5,000 square inches of this surface, and for the situations that can arise. So this is not something that you learn overnight. I'm still learning and expanding my knowledge based on center to edge aiming. So the system is finite, but your application and your approach as a player that you can use with CTE is you can take it as far as you want. That's sort of up to the player. That's one of the major reasons I'm still really intrigued with all of this, is because my game is continuing to expand. My knowledge is continuing to expand, visually and physically. And why? It's because I'm working with the objectivity of center to edge aiming. Thank you.